Sponsored by Grim Hollow. The dark fantasy campaign setting fit for any kind of D&D game. New rules, backgrounds, adventures, spells, and even transformations. You can even get the new book of subclasses, Grim Hollow the Player's Guide. I wrote 3 of those subclasses, one of them being Bulwark Warrior for Fighter, Parasite Patron for Warlock, and College of Adventurers Bard. There's a link down below if you want to check it out. Seriously, I recommend it. I think it's really cool. And yeah, thanks. Bye, sponsor. Thank you, Ghostfire Gaming. You guys are cool. I like to think I know a bit about D&D and its community, what people like and don't like and hate and don't hate. It's difficult to know because there's a silent majority of RPG players who don't care or don't want to say anything. So when I say people, I'm really talking about the loud ones who want people to hear their nonsense. And this is coming from a loud person who wants people to hear his nonsense. I don't know everything, like how Dispel Magic is actually really useful, that bards have their place in the classes and don't need fixing. And for a lot of people, monks aren't the easiest class. But there is one take, one opinion, one statement that I cannot let go. I've legit had this script written for like 3 years and I've rewrote it multiple times because of how I feel. So I wanted to do this right. I wanted to formulate a proper argument that isn't too long, that doesn't go off into a million tangents, and just explains the point that I want to make. I want to disprove and explain this ridiculous statement and maybe change your perspective if you feel the same. Maybe you've heard it too. Like whispers on the wind. You feel it in the water, in the earth, and in the air. Much that once was lost, but none now live who remember it. Alright, yeah, I've been watching way too much Lord of the Rings lately. I've been watching it because my family hasn't seen it in years, and I must subject them and pry their eyes open to my favorite thing of all time like a gremlin, all while my dad sits on the couch on his phone glancing up every so often so he doesn't fall asleep, and also because of Aragorn. Because what is Aragorn?
One of the Dunedain Rangers, I thought he was.
And that's what this video is all about. The Dunedain. Just kidding, it's about rangers. Before you immediately decide that this video is no longer worth your time, allow me to explain I'm not here to complain. I'm here to justify all you ranger-loving players, like myself. If you're willing to hear why a large majority of people hate this class, and so many love it, then sit back and relax. Have I ever steered you wrong before? Jacob, you opened this video with explaining all the times you've been wrong. True, but if I'm wrong this time, then at least you can get some entertainment out of my failure. Okay, why do people like rangers? Because they're survivalist, tracking, fighting, hunter skill monkeys that have a really neat concept. Okay, why do people hate rangers? Because they made them bad in 5e, plus some other stuff. 5th edition has this really great system as an RPG where you can have all these different flavors of subclasses for each of the classes. Rogues can have magic without cross-classing in a wizard. Warlocks have different patrons, and rangers, well, in the base book, rangers only have 2 subclasses. Now, to be fair, barbarians, bards, druids, and sorcerers only have 2, but to focus maybe a little bit on sorcerer, their 2 subclasses are really different. Draconic Bloodline gives scales for defense and an elemental focus, while Wild Magic is chaotic raw magic with boom bang pow, the cleric is now a cow. Same goes for barbarians, bards, and druids. And Ranger. They get an animal companion, or they can be useful in combat. No, really, both of those flavors of Ranger don't make a lot of sense. At least with a bard, you understand that your bard either studied in lore or in combat. Did the Hunter Ranger just spend more time learning skills while the Beastmaster Ranger trained a puppy? I actually think that makes kind of sense. But that shouldn't be the defining difference between your subclasses. Plus, the Beastmaster is horribly unbalanced with your animal companion taking your entire action or not having enough health in later levels and dying to every member of the Chroma Conclave you meet up with. The Hunter is your best option if you want to be anywhere near as useful next to the Fighter. But at this point, each and every Ranger are given awful choices. The only big choices you're making as a ranger are your favorite enemy and natural explorer, which can be annoying if you're playing in one of those campaigns where the terrain and monsters you're fighting change every 2 games. So new players look at 5th edition, see all the classes, and a ranger definitely seems interesting, but their abilities and skills are so lackluster in comparison to all of the other classes, they come off as uninspiring, and they move on to any of the other classes. Want to be stealthy? Play a rogue. Want to do combat good? Play a fighter. Want to be in tune with nature? You can be a druid. Okay, so Rangers are dumb. They don't make sense, they suck, and you can just play a fighter druid and be done with it. There's not even representation of what a Ranger is in media, so you might as well— There are 2 of them. One of them you clearly know, and I will explain. Aragorn. Not Legolas, you ding-dongs. Not only do they call him a Ranger, but he exhibits all the qualities of a D&D Ranger. Like, to a T. Aragorn has knowledge on the Nazgul.
Nazgul, ring wraiths, neither living nor dead. At all times they feel the presence of the ring.
Rangers get advantage to recall information on their favorite enemy. Aragorn knows the best route to Rivendell with the hobbits, and they move quietly, quickly, and alert to danger. Rangers have these exact abilities with favored terrain. Aragorn fights the Nazgul at Weathertop, displaying his ability to fight. When Frodo gets stabbed, he can't fully heal it, but he knows of the Kingsfoil plant that can slow the spread.
Do you know the Athelas plant?
Athelas?
Kingsfoil.
Rangers not only know about nature and plant life, but they have spells like Cure Wounds and Lesser Restoration. Though it's limited to them, they aren't great mighty spellcasters like druids, but they have what they need. And Aragorn is the first to find Frodo after he wanders off into the forest. So Rangers know their enemy, travel quickly, can fight, have magical abilities, and can track. Aragorn quickly tracks a horde of orcs, tracks Merry and Pippin into the forest, stubs his toe, calms this horse down, witches clearly speak with animals, fights and fights and fights and fights, and most of this fighting prowess is good due to him knowing how to defeat his enemy. Also, primeval awareness, which is an ability that allows Rangers to just know when a certain type of creature is nearby. Now, yeah, this isn't the why Aragorn is a Ranger video, but I need to prove this point because so many people like to say how Rangers have no place in fantasy and that they don't make sense. I know Lord of the Rings isn't the prime example of a D&D campaign, thanks Matt Colville, but I'll be damned if Rangers don't make for good, helpful, supportive adventures in D&D. Now, moving on to why Rangers are actually good and playing one is fun. Jacob, you said there's 2. Who's the other one? Who's the other fighting, tracking hunter who knows his enemy, can speak to animals, and is also in mainstream media? The Mandalorian. You could argue he's an artificer with all those gadgets, but he didn't make those. I think it's a much better assessment when he fights, calms or speaks to beasts, tracks prey, knows his enemy. You can't convince me that Mando ain't a Ranger. Okay, moving on. Rangers got better once Xanathar's Guide and Tasha's came out because the subclasses made them good again and reinforced the idea of what a Ranger is and created diversity in Ranger characters by allowing real choices to be made. Okay, that's it. No, really, that's the whole last point. 5e base Rangers are poopy. Xanathar's Guide introduced Gloomstalker, a quick ambush-based stealth Underdark Ranger, Horizon Walker, a teleporting portal-finding ethereal ranger, and Monster Slayer, an all-knowing weakness-finding Geralt of Rivia ranger. And all of these subclasses granted not only really interesting, unique, and badass abilities, but extra damage through a new style of play. Rangers are based on preparation. Get a Hunter's Mark going, along with your class's extra damage ability, which all of these subclasses got, and you're playing a Ranger who learns their enemy and defeats them with prowess and can actually hold up in terms of damage to all the other classes. Tasha's did the same exact thing. The optional class abilities gave them more skills, and swimming and climbing and extra speed, and tireless. You can give yourself temporary hit points to continue the fight.
Aragorn, you must rest. You're no use to us half alive.
Instead of picking one type of enemy to know about and getting upset with no more undead in the campaign, you can just deal damage to a creature you mark with your favored foe. Rangers now operate like a snowball in combat. As they slowly understand their enemy, they can defeat them. No other class in D&D does this. Except you, Battlemaster. They can also cast Summon Beast, so if you want that animal companion, here's a better way to do it. You also get extra fighting styles like blind fighting, throwing weapons, or gaining cantrips. And you can go invisible if you're hiding in nature. God damn it, this is so good. Fey Wanderer is great, but Swarm Keeper is the best thing ever, guys. Come on. You can have a swarm of bees be your spells and companion. Your swarm could even be chickens. My point still stands. Rangers have a huge place in D&D. No other class has the preparation, monster knowledge, tracking, travel skills, or flavor that Rangers bring to the table. I legit think Matthew Mercer was just like, I want blood magic, and Rangers suck, so I'm gonna make a better version, and that's what the Blood Hunter is. I really think Wizards realized how useless they felt in the base game and made some great decisions to improve them. I hope you all think of them differently now and realize their potential in a fantasy setting. Yeah, this video was a little bit shorter. I didn't want to ramble on about 4 million points about things that don't matter. I think I made my point. Use your brain! Think! That's what I want you to do! Okay, make sure to have fun in your games, guys. And that is the end of the video.